Uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. Is it both of us? What's up? All right. Brown, brown, brown. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-bum. I
Testing.
got
Hey,
elevator
stream.
music. Don't worry.
All right,
Bum,
perfect
bum,
time. Let's do
bum.
this intro
All right, we're
real
good.
quick again. All right. Yep, we are
All
live, baby.
right.
All right, guys. So welcome. I see you guys in here, man. Thank you so much for coming through today. This is me and my boy Tom Tran, and we are just pitching to you guys and introducing to you guys rather our Legacy Liftoff, man, a show that we came up with in collaboration. And my boy Tom's gonna walk you through a little bit of our outline and how the stream is gonna go today. So if you have any questions or just any comments at all, man, feel free to drop it down below, and we'll address them at the end of the stream. Let's get it, my boy.
So let's go. Kind of what we're talking about today is we're going to be talking about a book me and Steve read throughout the week called Ikigai by Hector Garcia. And each week we're going to kind of just do that. We're going to pick a book at the end of the stream and we're going to try to get through it within the week and then kind of give you guys our summaries, our thoughts, what we're feeling, how we think it can help you in your personal life, your professional life, or how it can help you in life in general, and whether we actually think it's worth your time to actually sit down and read a book. So we're basically spark noting it for you guys, but also trying to add our own commentary and how we kind of relate to everything. So Ikigai is basically a book about finding one's purpose and how can your purpose lead to a happier, longer life is a summary of the book. So Steve, what did you think? What are some of your thoughts, man?
Man, listen, like I went into this book with a completely like one thing, thinking one thing, and then coming out of it, like
Uh-huh.
definitely thought something completely different. So when I first heard of the name, firstly, I was very interested in just the title, right? Like Ikigai, meaning your purpose in life. Obviously, that's like an eye catching,
Mm-hmm.
very grabbing, attention grabbing title. So going into it, I'm like, man, like what is he gonna tell me that's gonna change my life? You know, what is this author gonna tell me that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna just change it up for me? And as we're going
Change
through
your
it, man.
perspective.
Right, exactly, right.
Right.
The perspective, or maybe that one line where I'm like, man, this is gonna change my life forever. I'm gonna tell my grandchildren about this. And I don't know, man. I guess I went into it just thinking there was gonna be some information that was gonna be life changing for me, and I think there
Mm-hmm.
were definitely some things that were changing for me. So how about you? What was it like?
Right.
Your mindset going into it, and how did you feel while reading it?
So I honestly thought it was going to be more like a philosophy book. When I heard Ikigai, I just knew it was a Japanese word, and the Japanese tend to get very, very deep, and
Mm,
word, every symbol, every character kind of means something. So I thought it was going to be a book about finding your meaning in life and how you should approach life in general. And I think, as I mentioned to you before we hopped on the stream, was it felt more of it felt like a philosophy book for like two-thirds of it, and then the final half just felt like a dietary nutrition book almost.
yeah,
So I was
yeah,
just
for
like,
sure.
all right, I guess. I felt a little bit offended because they're just talking. It felt like they were roasting my diet, telling me like, you need to eat better, you need to do this, and I'm just looking at myself. I'm like, fucking shit.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so it was really interesting just bouncing through it like that. It was just I came into it thinking it was going to give me a life changing perspective. I think it did, or it helped me think about things I do every day
Hmm.
in a slightly different angle. But I thought it was going to be like earth shattering, but it really wasn't
Right.
anything too crazy. It was just kind of like a reminder of things you might already know, and you kind of put it off onto like the back burners. So
Hmm.
that was what I found going through it. So I know it had about like five chapters. Steve, what was one of the things in those chapters that really stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, I like just the way he categorized like the keys to longevity, right? And those are the words he
Okay.
used. Like longevity, I guess, is the goal of this book, right? Just to
Mm-hmm.
live a long and purposeful life. So he said like the keys
Right.
were diet, exercise, purpose, and strong social ties. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
almost sums up the chapters in a way too, right?
Right.
And just that line alone, though, you look at it and you're like, well, damn, like my diet's not the greatest. I kind of exercise. Like
Right.
I have ties, but are they strong? You know, so
Right.
it kind of just made me
Right.
question a lot of things too.
Hmm.
So something that stood
Just
out to me
it.
specifically though, bro, like the diet, right? Not
Hmm.
being gluttonous, not eating to the point where I'm full. Man, every time I eat, I'm always like, yo, I want to be full. I want to be
Right,
satisfied,
bro.
right?
Bro. Right.
Meat,
Right.
meat and
Just bro.
potatoes. Like I'm always like this. Like man, I want to be
You
full. I want to get my
want to
money's
have
worth
that
from my
heavy
food.
thing. Right. Right.
But he's definitely advising against that, brother. Just telling us that
Right.
people live longer when they eat less.
Right.
You know.
Being satisfied. It's I think, which is a lesson you can kind of take out of that was, so they mentioned, eating to 80% capacity of your stomach capacity. It's basically when you feel like you're full but you can eat one more bite, don't take that extra bite. And
Right.
I think that kind of, you can spin that almost as like kind of looking at life, you know what I mean? It's kind
Mm.
of being satisfied with what's there. Don't try to do that extra step that actually might put you over the edge. It might just be, in the short run, trying to get ahead of somebody today might seem like a great idea, but tomorrow it might come back and bite you. Or like five
Mm.
years down the line, it might come back and bite you. So I think that the whole notion, it's not just a dietary thing for you to live healthy and, be healthier. I think like mentally, if you take that out of the context a little bit, it can also mean like in life, pursue things in the present moment, right? And being present was another theme in the book that he mentioned a lot, living slowly and being present.
Yeah.
Don't dwell too much on the past, don't look too much in the future, but be content with where you are at the current moment. So I think that the 80% rule in terms of eating, I think that fits in right there. It's being content with how much you've already eaten and not
Mm.
doing too much
Damn,
or
that's
not
deep.
eating too less where it kind of fucks you up?
That's deep, bro.
Right.
Jeez. I
But
definitely so like hey, I'm glad we're doing this because I would have never thought of it that way. You kind of did like a parallel with, one of his principles and you compared it to
right.
life and damn, dude, that's deep. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's an
But
Instagram post right there for you, man. Sheesh. You know?
yeah,
Yo,
man,
that's
because I
great.
think that's what the book, that's what I think it's really about. Like, reading, especially reading these kind of books, like
Oh
you
yeah.
got to take, you got to take the word, you could take the words for face value, but you also kind of, need to extrapolate a little bit. You need to get a little creative with some things. Like
Yeah.
again, like Ikigai by itself, every word, like Ikigai parsed out means two separate things. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like taking every word for what it's worth and then kind of like building on it and putting things together and kind of understanding things in a more fuller sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was just what I thought about that 80% rule, where it can apply to a lot of different things. But so one thing that really stuck out to me was the building of close community ties. So
Yeah.
something that he kind of goes through in the book is so the author and his co-author travel to Okinawa and they go to a village where people live past like 100 years old. Like everybody's old, but
This is
like they're not old.
the number one location, right? With the over a
Right,
hundred
right.
year olds. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. So they're like old. And when you think of like old people, you just, you think about grandma, grandpa sitting in the retirement home, just like moseying around. Nah. So the way he was describing these people, they were active, they were energetic, they were doing things. They were up every morning. They had what he called their Ikigai. They found their
Sure.
sense of living and their purpose and what makes them get up every morning. And I think that's the meaning of the book, really. It's finding what makes you get out of bed every morning and makes you want to work or want to do something. So basically what happened, or what he was talking about, I actually like lost my train of thought.
It's all good, bro. Yeah, it's all good.
What
Let
was
me know when it gives
but
back to you,
no,
bro.
no, community ties,
Yes.
that's what it was. Community ties. I started talking about the old people too much. Community ties, that was like the number one thing they kind of when they were interviewing them, that they listed, kind of feeling involved, important, like a member of a productive society, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And kind of helping each other where everything that they did or their task helped, their neighbor or their person next to them. And
Yep.
that's, I think the word he used was a kombu, which basically means like a community that shares things in common, which stemmed from, Japanese history. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that I found that really important because you go through life and your parents always tell you to make friends and do that, do this, do and everything, and then you really reflect back on it and think is having a lot of friends who share common things the purpose, or like is that what it really is, or is it just building those friendships and kind of like developing something more meaningful out of your friendships? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like because you can have it's like the popular kid in school. You can have like 100, 200 friends, but like when it starts popping off and it's down and you get into the nitty gritty, who's really there by your side? It's probably the ones who built trust with you, who've gone through it with you, who believe in you. You know what I mean? Where they also see your purpose, your value, what you're worth to something, and it's not all about what you can get out of a friendship or what a friendship can give to you, but it's just a matter of kind of like gelling together. It's kind of like a team, It's
Yeah.
like fundamentals. It's like gelling together and kind of not always looking out for your own interests, but kind of looking out for the interest of everyone as a whole. And I just thought that was an interesting approach because when you think about just pivot into the professional world, so when we're taught to network, at least in law school, we kind of generally bounce around and we kind of like see what other kind of wisdom and knowledge other people can give to us and develop a network and branch out of it, because you never know, a person you meet today might be able to get you a job tomorrow. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And for me, when I look at that, that's kind of almost a what can you give me or what can I give you nature in our relationship. It doesn't really foster anything. You know what I mean? It's not really building anything further than, this is my professional academia requirements or whatever. Here's my resume. Here's my
Yeah.
CV. This is what I got. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for them to be like, oh yeah, he can communicate well. He can, put on a suit and tie. Like I feel as though sometimes when we're building bonds, we kind of get lost in the shuffle. Don't you think?
I think so too, bro. I think it depends on, you really have to identify though, right? Like why that bond is being built. And it's similar to what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying. When it's a networking thing or when it's a professional thing, it might be different because you're trying to reach a goal, right? Oh, I want to
Right.
get a job. Oh, I want to be higher my net worth by being around higher net worth people.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to some of these things, like you mentioned, what did you mention the word was for a tight knit community within the book?
A kombu
A Kongbu, right? And he also mentioned
or
a Moai, Moai, and essentially like with those, right? I guess the difference is the key to those older people in these blue zones is that
mm-hmm.
not only do they share same interests, but they have each other's best interests at heart, right? It
Right,
almost sounded like
right.
when they were describing the town, they were giving me some imagery of the town they were staying in. I
Mm-hmm.
imagined like just a utopia almost. It's just a
Right,
bunch of
right.
old people living their best lives. Like that's exactly what I
Just
imagined,
being
right?
happy, just
That's
being
it.
happy, right?
And they were like, these people, they're active. They don't do like extreme exercise every day, but they're
Mm-hmm.
moving throughout the whole day from morning to night, right?
Right,
He was like, yo, they
right.
start before they even brush their teeth or eat breakfast. I don't know about brushing their teeth, but before they even eat breakfast, they're already like outside pulling their weeds,
Their weeds and
watering
shit.
their
Yeah, right, right,
plants.
right,
Yeah. So it's like
right,
at 100 plus. We're not even talking about like
right.
25, 26 year olds who are tired. They
Mm-hmm.
can't get up at 9 because they were binge
Right,
drinking last night. No, we're talking about people
right,
who are
right,
super old, right? Like they done did it.
right, right.
They've been there, done that, and now they're still here, just living, man, living their best lives
Doing whatever. Right, and I think that's what Ikigai really comes down to. It's living your best life for as long as you can.
as long as
Something you
possible.
mentioned, a couple times already, is blue zones. I feel as though maybe you should elaborate on what blue zones really are, so people listening in can actually know what we're talking about.
Definitely. So the author mentions that blue zones are basically areas within the world, pockets within the world, and he mentioned five that are they contain the most 100-year-olds or over on average, right? So like for instance, Japan was number one. Greece, there was a town in Greece. There was a town in Costa Rica, Italy,
Mm-hmm.
as well as one which is in the U.S. in California, bro. So I was very
Yep.
shocked to hear that because Western lifestyle versus a lot of those other countries that they're describing is not Western
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, right? These civilizations, these countries, so to speak, they just they live more low key. Like you can tell Italians, like for the most part in Italy, they live a very different like coastal life, right?
Right.
Like more
Right. It's a
relaxed, more
different vibe.
chill. Definitely a
Right.
different vibe. As opposed to like here, when I think of the U.S., I don't think of that vibe in anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, but essentially, the blue
Right.
zones just contain the most people who are over 100 years old. Japan sitting at number
Mm-hmm.
one, and I don't think he ranked the other ones, but um, dude, just to imagine living in a place like that, right? Like, I'm so
Right.
interested in visiting one of those places and kind of seeing in person how those blue zones
Right.
operate, and that's exactly what this
Mm-hmm.
author did. Him and his
Mm-hmm.
colleague. So do
Right.
you want
And
to mention? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you want to mention like any kind of thoughts you had on the blue zones? Like, did you think like, oh, like, oh, I could see these places being blue zones, or were you surprised?
So one like you, I was kind of surprised about the city in California. It's Loma
Mm,
Linda, California, if anyone was interested. And
right.
if you think about it, all of these places, they're almost like coastal locations. You know what I mean? They're near like the coast. Their weather is a lot better. Like I don't think New Jersey, where I'm at, is ever going to be a blue zone.
Right, right, right,
Not with the
right.
amount of with the amount of pizza we be eating.
Yeah, right.
But I find that interesting because a lot of the commonalities between everybody is a very coastal diet, high in like
mm,
fiber, vegetables, and fatty fish. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So I guess this is where I started thinking the book kind of took a nutritional health kind of turn opposed to like a philosophy turn when they started like
Mm,
really diving into the nitty gritty of everything. Like just using Okinawa, Japan, which is where they visited.
yeah.
They were talking about the benefits of drinking green tea and white tea and having plenty of antioxidants in your body. Not consuming a lot of salt and processed sugar. So I think
Mm,
that's probably something that's consistent throughout all the places. And I just found that really interesting that all of these places that are boasting like healthy longevity lifestyles are places where you kind of would expect them to be. You know what I mean?
sure, sure.
Like
Yeah.
Mediterranean area, like with Italy and Greece, Mediterranean diet. How many times have you heard people saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on an all Mediterranean diet"? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very common. How many times have you heard people say, "I'm gonna start drinking green tea because it's healthier for me"? Like, so I feel as though things that the Western cultures and societies are now like pushing as okay, we have science to back this health stuff. Other countries and other people have been doing it for years and years,
For
and just like, yeah,
centuries, bro. Right?
this is what we do.
Yeah. All right. So
So
let's bounce.
I just thought it was interesting.
I want to bounce right off of what you just said. So like
Uh-huh.
Western society, it's kind of trickling from Eastern society to Western society, right?
Hmm.
So here's a big thing in the
Right.
book that was mentioned: yoga, right? Yoga
Right.
has been
Right.
practiced for centuries in Asia, right?
In India.
India
Hmm.
specifically, yeah. So
Right.
some of those things that are trickling down, you're right. Like I feel like the bigger picture usually is that people take from Western civilization for the most part, for Western society.
Hmm.
But in
Hmm.
reality, Western society gets heavy influence from Eastern and other societies, right? So it's like it's
Right.
crazy. And what
Right.
did you think
Right.
about the yoga too? Because he spoke so much about that.
So I didn't realize there's 7 different types of yoga.
Yeah.
When you think of like so all right, like when you think of yoga, what do you think of? The I forget what he called it, but that's the most commonly practiced yoga. And
Right.
that's the one, where you do like, the tree and like the downward dog and like the cobra, where you stretch and get your body into certain positions.
Mm-hmm.
But yoga is just more than, breathing and stretching. It kind of comes down to what one of the 7 that really stuck out to me was karma yoga, which is just
Yeah.
basically your daily you doing things to everyone kind of gets what karma is. You do good, you get good in return. You do bad, you get bad in return. What
Mm.
goes around comes around. But I never really thought that as a yoga practice. You know what
Like
I
a
mean? I just thought it
practice.
was just something. Yeah, I just thought it was just some sort of religious thing that kind of like you just did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But so him highlighting that was what made me really wonder. I'm like, huh, that's kind of interesting. Who would have thought that would have been a yoga practice? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I guess you could think of it. It stretches your values, it stretches your morals, and it gets you,
Mm.
flexing your morality muscles if that's what it
So
really
to
does,
speak, right? Yeah.
right? But I thought that was really kind of crazy. But Another thing, what do you think about this? Since I knew you used to do like some MMA and stuff too. Like, what did
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
about the whole mentions of, Tai Chi and Qigong and like all the things, I grew up watching a lot of Kung Fu movies, like Chinese Kung Fu
Same.
movies. So like
Look at my
that
man
stuff
right
is like
here, man. Look
normal.
at
You
my
know what I
man in
mean?
the
All that,
background. Yeah,
all
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like normal. But like, what do you think about them taking that and turning into a healthy lifestyle practice? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So first and foremost, when I was reading the book and we got to that chapter and he spoke
Hmm.
specifically about like Tai Chi and other martial arts, I used to be
Hmm.
I was born and raised in Jersey City, bro. So I used to be in New York all the time, right? We were a train ride away,
Hmm.
15 minutes. I would see older people, so I've seen this, right?
Hmm.
Older Chinese residents of New York doing Tai Chi on the ball
Yep.
court, bro.
In
So
the
like,
park. Right.
yeah,
Right.
so
Right.
it's almost like it's almost understood. 7 a.m. through
Hmm.
8:30 a.m. is Tai Chi for the old
That's
heads.
what we doing.
Stay away from the park. That's what we doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
okay, that's just like my experience and kind of like a throwback when I
Hmm.
read it. But in reality, bro, I feel like anything that keeps your body moving in
Hmm.
regards to Tai Chi, right? They were saying how some of them like it's deadly movements, but they're just doing it real slow and almost achieving a
Hmm.
flow within your body, right?
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
movement,
Hmm.
kind of putting your mind and your body together, bro. And I think the practice,
Right.
the discipline that they do with it or achieve from it really kind of parallels with life too, right? If you practice something over and over,
Hmm.
something that may be difficult because some of those poses they're not easy, dude. You know what I mean? Like we might
Right.
go out there and get showed out by 100-year-old, 110-year-old, whatever the case may
Right.
be.
Right.
Like
Right.
like
Right.
legitimately, it
Right.
also promotes self defense. So like these poses, although
Hmm.
they're slow in real time, like right, like if you were to do it in
Hmm.
real time, they'll pop you. Like they'll hurt you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's
They'll
it's
catch.
it's
They'll
a
catch you.
yeah,
They'll
like
catch you.
it's real defense, it's real offense. So I thought that was
Right.
amazing and just similar to you, bro. Us coming from an Asian background, I think that's where our parallel
Hmm.
is with these kung fu movies. Bro, I used to watch all the Jackie
Right.
Chan, all the Jet Li, all the Bruce, like everything you
Everything.
Ip Man,
Everything. Right.
everything,
Everything.
everything. Whatever we had
Everything.
at the movie store, let's go. Like blockbusters, right? We
That's
used to
it.
go all the time.
Right. Hmm.
And it just it boggles my mind that like people don't realize how long martial arts has been benefiting that country, that region, right? Like Eastern society.
Right.
And
Hmm.
not just from an
And it's
exercise
like,
perspective too, like mental,
right.
just so many
Right.
benefits to it, bro. It's crazy.
What? So to bounce off of something you mentioned, you talked about kind of getting your mind and your body together in a state of flow. So that was kind of something he talked about in the book too, is
Mm-hmm.
achieving a constant state of flow to get through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that society today, with the advent of technology and the smartphone and everything, he said kind of takes away from that. And I think I suffer from this, like, as well, where I'd be doing something and next I hear a ping on my phone, or like something happens and
Mm.
I take my eyes away from my work and I'm on my phone now. Next I'm scrolling through Instagram for 30 minutes, or I'm like looking at something else and kind of like bouncing around. So something I thought was really interesting was the whole theory of not entering into a flow with a particular task and thinking you can multitask, because I
Right,
feel as though
right.
everyone's tried to do that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking on the phone while typing and looking over here while listening to some music, like your brain, you think you're achieving a lot of different things because you're like, yeah, I can, do this, that, and the third. But something he mentioned was our mental capacity starts to degenerate in our 20s. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where we are right
Yeah.
now. And it's kind of, I see it, I couldn't multitask like I did back in like high school or college. Like it just doesn't feel the same. So the whole notion of entering a constant state of flow really resonated with me, because it's the whole theory, like you said with Tai Chi, where it's like slow, deliberate movements where at a certain point you're not thinking about what the next move is. You're moving into the next move because your body's just constantly moving.
Yeah.
So kind of like with work, like, you know, get into it. And once you start getting into it and you immerse yourself into it, right? You just keep it going. You just churn it out. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was really, really interesting that he brought up the state of flow and how that can actually help you achieve your goals, achieve anything that you need to really do, and relating it back to like Ikigai, it's like if you can find your purpose, but you can't do what's needed to be done to achieve your purpose, like you
Yeah.
feel as though you feel defeated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel like you haven't gotten what you need out of it, and then it makes you think that like, oh man, maybe this really wasn't what I wanted. Maybe this really wasn't what I needed to do, or maybe this isn't my passion or dream. When in actuality, it's just the deterioration of your mental state and the ability to
Mm.
focus. And I just thought that was interesting. Something I actually have written down, right? So you play a lot of sports. You play ball back in high school and all that, right? So think of it like this: entering like a flow state of mind. That's kind of like your adrenaline's pumping. It's game day, and you're focused on what's like in front of you. You know what I mean? Like how some people say in like athletes, it's like entering the zone,
The
like where you're
zone.
just like focused. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Where you're like in you're invested. Whatever's in front of you is in front of you. So I kind of drew that parallel between the two of them right there. It's like, entering a state of flow isn't just, something an artist, like he mentioned, like a mathematician, like an engineer and everything, and an athlete. So it's the same exact thing for everybody. It's just a slightly different process. You know what I mean? And I thought that was really that's something that really hit home with me. I'm like, damn, because I like again I could relate to it. So I was just like, oh, that's really
Mm.
interesting. So what do you think about the flow?
Bro, flow is essential, right? Flow is essential. It's almost like what Bruce Lee says, right? Like be water, flowing.
You
Like
like
it's so I yeah,
exactly,
it's a really
exactly.
it's a concept that, like you said in the beginning of our stream, it's a concept that
Hmm.
you should know. You would think it's common sense. And
Right.
you might even identify it, right? Like you do know what it is, but you don't
Hmm.
practice it. If you don't practice it,
Right.
it's as good as just a thought, right? That's it. In one ear, out the other.
Right.
So I feel like one thing that he mentioned, speaking about the lack of flow, is
Hmm.
spiritual anguish, right? And he was saying
Okay.
like, basically like if you don't if you can't identify like your purpose, you'll be in spiritual anguish. And I felt like
Hmm.
I really resonated with this point of the book in regards to flow and spiritual anguish, because I'm always like an ambitious person. But if I
Right.
don't identify that purpose, if I don't have a clear vision of who,
Hmm.
where, and what I want to be, I
Hmm.
experience this spiritual anguish, man. It's like anxiety. It's like you
Hmm.
feel lost, man. And
Right. I agree.
sometimes that feeling is so overbearing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
sure other people who are watching this, who are gonna tune in the future, they can really resonate with that. And basically, what he says is like, this is a quote that he said. He said, "He who has a why to live by can
Hmm.
do it with any how. There's no factors that can stop you from doing it if you identify your why." You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Yeah.
that's
So
interesting. To piggyback off of that, something that
yeah,
when you started saying that, the metaphor he used, I don't know if it was in the same chapter, but the metaphor of the donkey being chained to a post, right, made me think of
yeah.
something, vicious cycles. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
the metaphor was, if you take a donkey, you tie him to a post, right? What happens with what he called obsessive thoughts, kind of what you're describing, anxiety, depression, kind of like beating yourself up and trapping yourself, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
basically the donkey walking around the posts in circles trying to find a way to get out instead of just sitting down and figuring it out. He's obsessing over how am I going to get this done? How will I get out? What am I supposed to do? What's next? And kind of just, which ties into something I said earlier, like living in the present. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And I think that's something that kind of escapes everybody. Like I'm guilty of it too.
for sure.
And what happens is you just walk in circles and circles, and that chain around you just keeps on getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then you're just stuck at a certain point. And
Literally.
I think
Yeah.
that's literally stuck.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, if anything, or if you want to take anything away from that book, realistically, it's the development of your mental state to kind of pump the brakes. I think everyone in today's society, we're living at like such a high, fast pace, the advent of technology, everything that's going on, we're just moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, like the saying, sometimes when you're walking, you got to stop to smell the roses. You know what I mean? You got to slow it down sometimes. And I think that was a very common theme in the book.
Mm,
Without saying it, he kind of mentioned it, like take in what's around you, like live
right.
in the present. Don't obsess over things that you can. This is a to lead up to one of the points I thought was really important in the book was don't try to don't try to worry about things you can't control or
Sure.
things that are outside of your control. You know what I mean? I think I forget what it was called, but essentially he was just saying like if it's outside of your control, like why are you obsessing over it? It's kind of like the weather. You walk outside and it's fucking cold today. Right, like you put on a jacket, you keep it pushing.
Exactly.
You're not gonna be
Exactly.
like, oh nah, like I need it to be hot. Like I need summer to come back. Like what are you like? There's no point. There's no purpose other than expending, you know, brain power and like mental anxiety about like, oh, it's so cold. Like, oh man, it's
Mm.
basically complaining and moaning and groaning about something you can't do anything about. Which brings me into something he called microflow. You know,
Yeah.
enjoying the mundane, simple, dumb tasks that you hate on a daily. He mentioned Bill Gates and how Bill Gates actually likes washing the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And you would never think, a multi-billionaire is going to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna wash the dishes today.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that was something that hit. I'm like, oh, he enjoys washing dishes because it's something that keeps him present. You know what I mean? It's something simple that he knows he can achieve, something simple that he knows he can walk through and get through. And it just really made me think about, sometimes we're taught to like pursue the bigger picture. You know what I mean? And it's just like that big goal is always up here and out there, and we're just trying to chase after that sometimes. That we're not worried about everything in between.
Right.
And I think this book really, that's something that they really harp on is like, listen, step by step, moment by moment, don't worry about it. Like if you've identified your purpose, if it's
Mm-hmm.
that greater, bigger goal, if you've identified it, all right, get to it. Just, take deliberate steps forward. Don't just think about, from the bottom to the top. Like it's not going to happen overnight. And I think that's something today we don't really realize that things take time, things take, deliberate effort. And honestly, when you're living in the moment and enjoying everything, it makes you happier, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something he really tried to push in this book was, don't strive for perfection,
Yeah.
right? Like the important parts of life really are chasing what's imperfect, not perfect. Because if everything was perfect, there's nothing to really change. There's nothing really to build on. There's nothing there. You know what I mean? And I think that was that's deep. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
everyone strives for perfection, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like
I
I feel as
agree.
though that's every time we do things. Like you always want to be the best at something. You always want to be at the top. Like you're always taught to like go out there and go get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Do
I don't
you
know. What do
do
you?
you do you think that's like a Western? And when I say Western, I don't even want to say Western. I want to say American. Is that an American thing?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because if you think about it in Asian culture, dude, I don't know if you might have had the
Sure,
same
sure,
experience
sure,
growing
sure,
up. Like
sure.
you got to get all A's. You got to strive to be the best. You got to be this, that, and the third. And it's like that odd external Asian pressure. Being
Mm.
first generation, like I had a ton of pressure to grow up, succeed, do things.
Sure, bro.
At what risk, at what, you know what I mean? So it's always been a striving of perfection, and I don't know if it's just human morals opposed to a Western thing or Eastern thing. I just think it's just something we've either seen or been taught in history and life. Maybe it's even genetic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this chase for perfect, the chase to be at the top, like the chase of, the feeling of resentment when you fail, like all these
Mm.
other things that make you strive for perfect or being perfect. Like using models, for example, like they're always trying to be the best in the best condition, shape, form athletes, always trying to be in perfect condition, shape, form. And when they're not, they're Joel Embiid when he was eating cheeseburgers and all that. Like he's not
Yeah.
in perfect condition, but he
Right.
go out there and drop a bucket on the head. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Right.
always this weird perception of people that you need to chase and strive for perfection, which was the exact opposite in the book, where he mentioned, perfection isn't the absolute goal. Like that's not going to make you happy. Striving for perfection is actually going to be the opposite. It's going to actually like fuck you over and like affect you mentally as you try to strive to be the perfect version of whatever you are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I have
And
two
so, what do you think
points.
about that? Go ahead.
two quotes to piggyback off of what you just said, and it's two
Right.
really renowned people who said these quotes. Well, one that comes to mind is Mike Tyson, right? He was saying
Mm-hmm.
like successful people fall in love with doing the shit that they hate, and they do it like they love it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's
Right.
like
Right.
like exactly what you're saying, right? That's number one, and then the number two thing is by Inky Johnson, who, if you're not familiar, guys out there, is a NFL player who was like, I'm sorry, he was a college football player who was scouted to be
Mm-hmm.
like a really really good NFL player, and
Right.
then boom, he got hit and like lost all mobility in his one side of his body, like his right side of his body, right? So he was like
Mm-hmm.
great, and then something really drastic happened to him, and his quote
Mm-hmm.
was I lost it. But
It's
essentially,
it.
here I'll think about it. I'll think about it. But let's discuss the Mike Tyson one first, right? Like the Mike Tyson
Mm-hmm.
one is like basically you have to fall in love. This is Inky's. Okay, here I got it back. You have to fall in love with the journey, the process, the
Right.
nitty gritty things in between, whether it's good or bad, right? Just do it to
Mm-hmm.
do it. Don't just stop Stop going after the reward. Stop chasing this reward, like you're
Right.
saying. This chasing constantly. Because when does it stop? When is
Mm-hmm.
I want
Right.
more money, enough money? When is it enough
Mm-hmm.
power? When is it enough accolades and recognition? It gets to a point where you have
Right.
nothing else to achieve. And it's either
Mm-hmm.
that or you kill yourself mentally, physically, spiritually trying to achieve
Trying to get
things
to
that
it.
are
Right.
unachievable, right? So it's a
Right.
rat race. It's a rat race essentially because
Mm-hmm.
you just keep on pushing the boundary. Oh, I want to get
Right.
100
Right.
views today. Okay, we got 100. I want 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got 1,000. When does
Mm-hmm.
it stop? When does it stop?
Right. So just to build off of that, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, but don't you think you need that though? Like
There's
I
a
feel as though this is contrary. There's a contrary to
yeah,
this, but
yeah,
like I
yeah.
feel as though you need that a little bit. You know what I mean? Because if not, at a certain point, you lack the motivation. If you're not setting, which goes into microflow, I think, if you're not setting simple, ascertainable goals to kind of progress you forward, you know what I
Sure.
mean? I think it's the desire to chase the bag. Realistically, using your example, it's like the chase, like getting the bag, and like everybody wants to get the bag. Like no matter what, we're going to get there. We're going to get there, and it's not really enjoying. I think here's the difference. I think it's the difference is enjoying the process. Trust the process, getting through it versus start to finish. That's it. You're only worried about the beginning and the ending. You're always chasing the ending, and your
Yeah.
ending constantly changes as you develop, as other facts and situations kind of develop. You know what I mean? Instead of pausing, relishing the moment. You know what I mean? It's kind of like saying we want 100 views today. We get 100 views, and then out of nowhere, it's like, all right, let's get to 1,000. Like, nah. Like, what about the 100? We just got to what we set out to accomplish. Like, there's no small little party. Like, what's going on? There's no encouragement. There's no like, we did it. Good job. Let's do it. Here's how we can get better. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And on your point, I think people sometimes get lost in identifying, that break, that pause, that moment in time where you can really take it in for yourself
Yeah.
and then moving on. You know what I mean? I think people just move on too quickly to get to whatever is next.
Yeah.
So a quote from the book, I forget whose quote it was, but a quote from the book was, happiness is in the doing, not the result,
Mm.
which I think really like sets in right here perfectly,
Yep.
because you enjoy going back to the old people, dude. They wake up at 5, 4 in the morning. They
Mm-hmm.
jump out. They tend to their garden. They do whatever they got to do, and they're enjoying the process. They enjoy the act of what they're doing because they know what they're doing is going to benefit the community at the end of the day. You know what I mean? They're not worried about like, oh, I ain't grow enough watermelon for everybody to have one this time around. Nah,
Yeah.
they're like, all right, I grew 4 watermelons. Fuck yeah. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think that actually really hits home with this. I think it's like enjoy the process, relish the moment, which is I think the theme throughout it.
Yeah.
Finding your purpose is one thing, but once you find the purpose, you got to kind of enjoy it, like enjoy the ride. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That's like driving up the coast of California, not sightseeing, not looking outside the window. That's
Just
just like you driving all the way up
mm.
with your eyes on the road, visors on, not paying attention.
That's a
Like, what's the
great
point of
point.
that? Like,
That's a great
what's the
point.
point?
Wow.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Damn, that's a really good just off the top of the head imagery there you're giving, right? Like literally, it's like driving
Listen,
to
man.
from point A to point B with
Right.
shaders on. With shaders on,
Yeah.
right? just driving
Not worried about nothing
aimlessly.
else, right?
Exactly. Just worried about getting to point B. That's it. That's it. So
Mm-hmm.
damn, dude, that's really great. Um,
Yeah, that's
Hey, what
crazy.
did you think? I wanna talk about this a little bit since neither of us have brought it up.
Right.
Logotherapy, okay? And just to refresh in your memory
Okay.
and other people's memory, logotherapy is essentially it was a therapist, his method, this certain therapist,
Mm-hmm.
his method was identifying why people like he would ask this question essentially. Let me gather my thoughts. He would ask this question:
Mm-hmm.
what is preventing you from committing suicide? That's the question he would ask. Firstly, like nowadays,
Right.
that's fucking that's a hard question to ask somebody, right? But essentially, that was his method.
Mm-hmm.
What is preventing you from stopping your life at this moment right now? And the people would inevitably
Mm-hmm.
think about things and bring things into perspective that they're living
Right.
for, right? Bringing meaning to their
Mm-hmm.
life that they were like, oh, like I'm lost, I'm this, I'm that. But it's like, well, what's stopping you from killing yourself right now? And in reality, he would turn that into a positive thing. And it's like, okay, so somebody would say
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's my son, right? And it's my children. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't want to die. Like, I want my children to like live happily and to share
Right.
moments with them. So I thought it was just an interesting
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And I was curious what you had to say about like logotherapy and if you know you had any thoughts
I
on
had
that.
So on the suicide note, I had this written down, the old lady example, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of like what he was going to. Just so give the people listening the context of it. So there was a lady with a paralyzed son. So she just thought she couldn't accomplish anything else in life, and she thought it was just done. Like there was nothing else to do. She hasn't lived a full life, and she regretted every bit of it. So she was contemplating killing herself and her son.
Mm.
But the spin around was her son found his life purpose. He still had something to accomplish. So he didn't want to have his life taken away by his mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when she went to see the therapist and they were implementing this logotherapy and kind of like talking about it, right? The question was posed in two ways. Once, if you were wealthy but you had no children, would you deem that a successful life?
Mm.
And the woman's answer was no, because I really haven't done anything. I haven't. So this right into what we're thinking. I haven't had a legacy. I haven't done anything. I haven't moved on. I haven't developed anything. Sure, I have all this wealth, but who is there to share it with?
Mm.
Who is there to build on it? Who is there to actually reap the benefit of it? You know. And then when that same question was posed similarly to the mother who wanted to commit suicide with her son, she realized, no, like I've lived a full life. I've helped. I've done things. Like I have another son. I raised him to be fine. I raised my paralyzed son to be fine. Like I'm chock full of meaning. Like I've done a lot in this life. Like why do I want to take my life now? Like there's
Exactly.
no reason to. Like I've never like so it's a matter of perspective again. You know what I mean? And I think
Sure.
it's slowing down and just realizing. Like I think sometimes, like the blinders are always on.
Mm-hmm.
You're just so focused on whatever the next thought is, whatever's in front of you, and you just don't slow down to really take it all in. And I think that was in essence, what that kind of like brought to the book was another example of if you actually sit down and think about it, you might actually just find the answer. You know,
Like
but
the donkey.
on the same chapter, yeah, like the donkey. If you sit down instead of doing this, in the same chapter though, he mentioned something about the diplomat and how he hated, you know, his job, his government politics, and he didn't know what to do. He hated everything about it. And then he had a Western therapist who told him to, if you make amends with your father, you should be happy. Because I assume his dad was in the government or his father figure was a diplomat of sorts. So that didn't work apparently. So what
Mm-hmm.
happened was he said, realistically, what it was you just don't enjoy your job, dude. Just go do something else. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with anything,
Yep.
but this isn't what you want to do. So this brings me to what I was telling you earlier, where I wrote a 2 paragraph dissertation in my fucking notes
Okay.
talking about this. So I think this is a perfect time and a good way to kind of like wrap things up too, as we like try to like unpack this. So Ikigai, right? Throughout the book, it says everyone has an Ikigai, right? Everyone has a
Mm-hmm.
purpose. Your purpose is within you. You know what I mean? There's a purpose. Steve has a purpose. Tom has a purpose. Whomever is here has their own individual purpose. My question, what I kind of disagreed with was, all right, is your purpose predetermined? Is it
Mm.
preset? Like, who gives you this purpose? Is it are are you not able to say this is my new purpose? Like this is what I want to do now. Like this, I thought this was my purpose, and change your mind because the whole notion of ikigai made it seem like your purpose was predetermined, your fate was predetermined, and in order to be happy, you have to live and go through the steps to achieve this predetermined fate. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And that's what I disagreed with. I'm like, well, what if just kind of like the diplomat, which kind of answered my question when I kind of circled back around was you might think it's your purpose and you might hate it and you're like, is this really my purpose? And at the end of the day, you just gotta, change your job, I guess. But I still don't think that answers my question. Like if you only, so this is what I wrote down. My question here is there only one purpose a person can live? Is everyone limited to only one purpose? And that purpose is essentially predetermined for us. And we're just supposed to find it? Like who says we don't have the ability to change our purpose, change our perspective, and lead a different life?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Try to answer that question. Help me out here then.
It's hard, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like I preach this all the time. You, as long as you are alive and you woke up today, have the
Mm-hmm.
ability to pivot into whatever purpose you decide and choose for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle between two notions. That notion and the notion that everything happens for a reason. Everything is already
Right.
right.
It's there.
Um,
Right.
as an individual, I feel like, hey, if I cut my finger right now, it's gonna bleed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Who knows? Who knows if I was supposed to cut my finger and if I was supposed to bleed or not? But I know,
Right.
as
Right.
far as I know, if I cut my finger,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bleed. So that kind of goes in with
Right.
everything else, right? If I take steps towards
Mm-hmm.
my passions, if I went into a job thinking this is what I wanted, and when I got there and I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to do it, I can pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I then therefore change my purpose, right?
Right.
So
Right.
to answer your question in a long-winded statement, you control your purpose, man. You control your
Right.
destiny with your little actions daily towards whatever
Mm-hmm.
purpose it is. And it's funny
Right.
because you can't lie to anybody about your purpose but you, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know if you're bullshitting your
That's true.
purpose.
That's
You
true.
know if you're taking the steps towards the right thing or not. And when you're doing something stupid and not towards your purpose, you know
Mm-hmm.
that as well. You feel it, man,
Right. Right.
You feel
Right.
it, bro. So it's like I said, to answer your question, I truly believe that we determine our focus and our purpose,
Right.
and it's up to us to define that ikigai,
Mm-hmm.
because my ikigai and your ikigai
Right.
maybe can share commonalities, but not, it can be
Right.
completely different, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your legacy is for you
So
to be written,
right. Right.
yeah,
Right. I agree. I'm gonna play off of what you just said real quick, just because it
yeah.
came to my head. So imagine you're walking down the dirt road, right?
Mm.
And there's a fork in the road, right? You know, to get to wherever you need to get to the other side, you have to go through this path, right? And there's forks in the road no matter where you go. Who says, right? Like, off of what you're saying, like, you can pivot and change your purpose at any point when you determine it's not your purpose. Who says that's even your actual purpose?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, is that really? So my question is like, this is why I'm so confused with the whole notion of it.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
because at that point you're saying you can control your purpose, but what if that's not? It's never met. That's never your purpose. That wasn't your purpose to begin with, and all these short, deliberate forks in the road you're taking will ultimately get you to your actual purpose. But
Mm.
like halfway through, you think this is the right way. You think this is your purpose. You think you're going to where you need to go, right? So it's like
So
this notion of, again, what is your purpose? How do you make sure you find your purpose, and how do you actually like realize it is your purpose? Because you might think it is for the longest time, right? But it could be something greater or something different, and you won't achieve that
mm.
because, again, like, is that predetermined? Is that end goal really predetermined for you already, and you just haven't gotten to it and you haven't realized it? You know what I mean?
I think you're right. And that's
Yeah,
the two notions I was talking about, right? The one notion is that you control it. Every action that
mm-hmm.
you take takes you towards it. The other one is, well, what
Right,
if I'm taking actions towards the wrong goal?
right.
And I
Like,
guess
how do
we
you
will never
know?
know, right? We will never
We'll
know. We will
never.
never know,
We'll just live. We'll just, yeah. Like, it's actually a really interesting and crazy kind of like
Yeah.
abstract idea to really think about. So
Mm.
yeah, let's try to like wrap this up a bit.
Got it, bro. Let's
I'm
go through
sorry, I
that
cut
that
you off. I cut
conclusion.
you off.
No worries. Let's go through that
No, you
conclusion.
good? Right.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you. There's one question on here. Would you recommend the book?
I would recommend the book for sure.
All right, I would
You?
recommend it as well. Yeah,
Got it.
the hands down. I think
Yeah.
it's a great book to really kind of read and delve in. And again, you might just everyone listening might just take a different purpose and or a different meaning out of something. And just like we took slightly different perspectives, I feel as though it's a good beginner book
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good eye opening book. You know what I mean? Because I feel as though everyone can relate to all the topics
Yeah.
in one way or another, and like the perspective, it's broad enough for people to share. Like it's kind of like it's definitely an eye opener. You read it and you kind of just go, ah, yeah, like I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I do that. That happens to me. You know what I mean? I think so. I think it's a good book for everyone, realistically, because it does. It's broad enough from a perspective standpoint for you to kind of take what you want out of it, but I
Yeah.
also think it's broad enough where it can relate to everyone.
Right.
Right. So
I think it was relatively short, relatively easy to
it
read.
was. Mm-hmm.
It's a good reminder book. It's not one of those books where
Mm-hmm.
like I had revelations throughout,
Right.
but I did. It reminded me of principles that I need
Mm-hmm.
to practice. Right, principles I'm already
Right.
aware of that I really need to practice to be able to achieve that longevity that everybody's chasing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good grease your wheels book. You know what I
for
mean?
sure, absolutely.
Like oil up the pan.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, let's conclude this. So what we're gonna do now, what I have written down here is share one quote from the book that you think resonates or can resonate with everyone. I'm gonna go first since I have one handy
Yep.
written down right here. Actually, I have two. So the first one is trying to get rid of one wave with another, and we're left with an infinite sea. So that's
Mm,
basically trying to solve one problem, and you might just generate another problem. This is like making a splash after another, and next you know, you're just fucking drowning in your own ocean of thought. You know what I mean?
right.
And then the
Mm,
second one, where is it? Life is pure imperfection.
mm.
Don't
Snaps
chase
for
the
that one,
perfection.
right? Jeez.
Life is always, it's just not perfect. You know what I mean? Nothing will
Right.
ever be perfect. So there's no need to chase the perfection. Life in of
Mm.
itself is appreciating the beauty of imperfection.
Oh, for
All
sure,
right,
for sure.
your turn.
All right, so I got one written down, and I'm gonna try to find the other one that I was thinking of. But the one written down that I did mention earlier, and I'm gonna say it correctly this time because I think I kind of chopped it up the first time. But he who has a why
Paraphrase.
to live can bear any how. I think that's. I think the
Mm-hmm.
reason why it just resonated so much with me is because like I lacked the why for a long time. And now that I'm
Right.
starting to define that why, I can really understand, right? Like, hey, literally, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what happens to you, you can weather the storm so long as you remember that
Mm-hmm.
compass. You have that compass, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Beautiful.
I agree.
Yeah, dude, for sure, man, for sure.
Right. All right. And now we're gonna. You want to pick our next book first, or do you want to answer? See if there's any questions in the chat or anything the chat wants us to address
Well,
first.
people have been dropping in, showing love. Melly Lynn has been here. I know she's been commenting the whole time. I've been trying to interact a little bit by liking and loving some of these, these questions coming in. Some
Comment.
people
Right.
saying
Right.
hi. Yeah. But if you guys who are watching right now have any questions or concerns, definitely put it in the chat. I know I gave the title in the chat as well for people. But yo, let's go through with the book. Hey guys, just so you guys know, you guys can also give us recommendations on books that you believe are influential or essential, those must read books,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a fictional or
Right.
non-fictional, right? Like it's not just non-fictional books here for us, it's both. And we'll read it
Mm-hmm.
together, we'll go through the parallels at the end of the week, and we'll add it to the raffle. So let's do the book for next week. Do you excited?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's get it,
You
bro.
got the. Let's get this going.
Let's
You
get
want
it,
to do
bro.
the spinny spins?
Yes, sir. And I will share the screen now so that people can see. Sunday sit downs should be this one right here. Let me see. Let me know if you see it or not.
It's loading on my end.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little slow right now, right? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I'm very happy, man, that we had this book for it's ironic, like I said, I don't know why things work the way they do, but we did get this book for a
Mm-hmm.
reason. I feel like, here, let me try to
Yeah,
do it again.
it was a great way to start things. It was our first book too, so that's been interesting.
All right, here it is. So this is I can full screen it if I'm not mistaken. All right, guys. So we just have a list of books. You can see it fine, Tom?
Uh, I can't see it's a little small because we have so many books on there.
Okay, got you. But you can
but
see
it
the,
does
the page in general.
the wheel. Yeah, I can see the
Okay,
page and the
understood.
wheel. So
All right, guys. So we just have a list of about 85 books right now. I think it's 100. So I don't know why it says 85. Maybe we should check on that. But there's a bunch of
we
books on
will.
here that were recommended to us by mentors, by ourselves, by influencers, or wherever we read, and we kind of just marked down, hey, we should read this book. And what we're gonna do is just spin it, and every week what we'll do is we'll take the book that we selected off so that we can add new books, and we'll keep it at like 100 and a running list so that we can
Hmm.
share with you guys as well. All right, so let's do
Right.
it right now. I'm excited, bro. I'm hoping it's a
I
really
know.
banger.
Let's see. I got our list up. I'm waiting
Oh,
for it.
David and Goliath.
David and Goliath.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's get money. All right, so I'm gonna remove it here, and then I'm gonna end the share screen, and we should be good to go. So David and Goliath is the next book we're reading, guys. Interesting, interesting.
That is
Are
by
these
Malcolm Gladwell.
perfect? Melly says, "Are these books electronic?" So Melly, for the most part, all I do is read audiobooks on YouTube, right? So like, you don't have to pay for them oftentimes. Some
Hmm.
people do, right? Some people definitely do. I know Tom uses Audible and he really likes it, right? You want to share a little
Right.
bit of
Yep.
experience on Audible and
Right.
that app?
So yeah, so I use Audible when I kind of like drive or work out or like go on a walk or stuff. It's just I feel like it's a good user friendly kind of thing instead
Hmm.
of like having YouTube open or like any other version. And so I have the yearly membership where they give you basically a free book a month. So in a year you get 12 books. So it's not
Right.
you could buy more books. So it's up to however much you want to read. But I think your way is actually pretty good too. Just hopping on YouTube, especially for basic ones where everybody's kind of reading.
Hmm.
Um, I have some physical copies of books just because some longer books might just be a little bit easier to read like
Right.
that. You know what I mean? But I think Audible is a good resource to use, especially if you want something more structured instead of like bouncing around on YouTube all the time. Because like on iPhones at least, like when your phone goes to sleep, it kind of cuts it out and all that.
Hmm.
Like it stops it. Like you'd have to kind of like sit being attentive to YouTube, kind of. You know what I mean? Or like
Right.
sit on your computer and have it playing in the background. I personally like taking notes and like doing things, so Audible is a little
Hmm.
bit more convenient for me. So that's just my take on it.
Okay. Any I guess concluding statements you want to talk about? Do you kind of just want to kick the breeze in regards to our channel and maybe what we envision it going like? How do you think it went today in general? Like you think,
Yeah,
you
I
enjoy it?
think I think it was fine. I think I had fun. This is my first time kind of doing anything like this, so it's been
Great.
is I got a little shaky nerves. Y'all,
Yeah, yeah,
y'all
yeah,
probably heard me talking real fast, like
yeah.
but it's fun. It's interesting. I never
Right.
thought doing so. It's kind of funny because so like going to law school. I'm a lawyer. I'm a practicing lawyer. You know what I mean? I get in front and I talk to people. I talk to the jury. I talk to the court. I talk to the judge. I address people like on a
Mm.
daily basis. But it's just funny doing it like this. It just I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's something about it. It gets me like riled up. Like my adrenaline's been pumping like since fucking 9 in the morning. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
so
don't know what it
similar
is, but
similar
it's
to you,
fun.
man. I've never experienced this. It's funny cuz I stream every day, right? But
Right,
I'm getting a
right.
little bit of butterfly and a little bit of nerves or whatever. So I think at the end of the day, man, the more we do things like the more we do episodes, the further down the line,
Hmm.
man, we're gonna get so good at this. You know what I'm saying? Just from a
Right,
comfortability
right.
standpoint and from a
Yeah.
confidence standpoint.
Hmm. I
So look,
agree. I
man,
agree.
I had a great time, bro. I had a lot of fun.
Likewise.
Guys, thank you so much for coming through and liking, reacting to the page. If you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely just leave a comment. We'll get back to you guys.
Hmm.
But aside from that, guys,
And
this was. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so we started our own Instagram. We're going to try to slowly build this off as our own platform. Do you want to drop like share the Instagram with your thing in the chat, and that way people can,
Absolutely.
if they want to hop off and specifically look towards this kind of material, you guys give
Hmm.
us a follow over there, and it'll really help us out in the long run.
Yes, guys,
Especially if you
definitely.
guys like sitting around talking and enjoy the content and just want to listen to Steve's wonderful voice.
Or Tom's beautiful face. That's what it comes down to, right?
Oh man, that's all it is.
Uh-huh. Oh, Melly says she was just gonna ask that. So hey, yep, I'm gonna drop it in the chat. It's called the Legacy Liftoff, guys. You guys will definitely be able to find us on other platforms soon as well. We're gonna turn this into a
Hmm.
podcast. Okay, so this is the video
Eventually, right?
form, and it's gonna be in podcast form as well. So guys, look, man, this
Hmm.
is first time either Tom and I are doing a podcast or anything similar to this. I know we have successes in other in experiences and successes in other things. But as anything, man, we're just crawling right now. We're trying to get to walking and running soon, but we're trying to enjoy it
Hmm.
and find our Ikigai on the way. You know what I'm saying,
Right,
guys?
right. We're just living in the moment and take it step by step, and we want all of y'all to kind of join us in that.
Definitely. All right, Tom.
All
Any
right.
last words before we go, or
No, I think that's it. That kind of wraps it up. Tune in next week. We'll drop a little update on what the book we're kind of reading, a little summary over on our Instagram page. If y'all guys want to check that out and give that a like, that'd be cool. So just keep, that's where we're gonna keep a lot of this stuff up to date and current. If there's any questions or if there's gonna be any issues, so
Mhm.
just give us a follow over there and be on the lookout.
All right, guys. My name is Steve. Thank you so much. This is my boy Tom. This was the
Yes,
Legacy
sir.
Liftoff Show, episode number 1 in the books, guys, and it's history now. All right.
All
All right,
right.
Tom. I'm gonna catch you later,
All
brother.
right, brother.
All
All right,
right.
man. I'll talk to you.
See
All
you
right,
guys.
guys.